Well, we'll go ahead and get started then. Good morning.
This
I'm
meeting
Wendy
is being
Hatch.
recorded.
Good morning. I'm Wendy Hatch, Vice Chair of the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau Advisory Committee. I'm calling this meeting to order at 10 o'clock a.m. This meeting is being held on Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020 via WebEx teleconference and webcast with no physical public location pursuant to Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-29-20, issued on March 17th, 2020. I'd like to ask our WebEx moderator to please explain the format for this meeting.
Good morning, this is the moderator. Before we get started, I would like to remind committee members and staff who are not speaking to mute their microphones. If we hear background noise during the meeting, we will provide either a brief friendly reminder or simply mute microphones as to not interrupt the meeting. We have members of the public in the audience and meeting minutes are being taken, so I ask committee members and staff to please identify themselves before speaking. To facilitate public comment, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer or the Q&A feature. When the committee chair reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, public comment will be requested. At the committee's discretion, I will turn on and announce the Q&A feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by clicking on the icon with the question mark located at the right-hand corner of their WebEx screen. The instructions are on the screen right now and will be shared each time for your reference. In the Ask field, typically located at the lower right of the WebEx screen, members of the public who wish to make a comment will type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. Any other communications will not be responded to. Members of the public, it is not necessary to identify yourselves in order to make a comment. I will take the comments in the order that they are received and will call on a member of the public and unmute their microphones. Members of the public will have 2 minutes to make their comments and will be provided a 30-second time warning before the conclusion of their time. Afterwards, their microphone will be muted and we'll move on to the next member of the public who has requested to make a comment. Please note that the Q&A feature is being used only as a means for the members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. Once unmuted, the member of the public may verbally state their comment. This is not a means to ask questions of the moderator or members of the committee. Such inquiries submitted using the feature will not be responded to. If any attendees utilize a profane name, they will not be called upon to prevent members of the public from being subjected to profane language. While you are free to express criticism for the sake of the members of the public participating on the call, please do not use profane language when making comments to the committee. Thank you, and I'll pass it back to Chair.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2. At this time, I would like to ask Angela to call the roll to establish a quorum.
Good morning, and thank you, Vice Chair Hatch. I will call the roll. Okay, present, thank you. James Moore.
Good morning, present.
Thank you. Chi Elder.
Present.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Present.
Denise Nellison.
Present.
And Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Present.
Thank you. With a quorum of 6 members present, there is a quorum established.
To item 3. Before I ask the members to introduce themselves, I would like to welcome our 2 new public members of the committee, Ms. Denise Nielsen and Elizabeth Ichikawa. And I'm sorry, ladies, if I messed up your name. We are very happy to meet you virtually and look forward to working with you together.
Thank you. Do you want us to say?
Now I I would now like to ask the committee members and the Bureau staff to introduce themselves.
This is Denise Nellison, and I am a licensed clinical social worker, retired. Used to work for the San Diego County Aging and Independent Services, also worked for a hospice and other older adult related programs. And I'm looking forward to working with the Bureau.
Thank you. Elizabeth, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Ichikawa. I am the supervising court investigator at the Solano County Superior Court, and I am also looking forward to working with the Bureau. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Moore, please.
Good morning. This is Jim Moore. I'm a professional fiduciary and conservator here in Sacramento.
Chai Elder.
Good morning. My name is Chi Elder, and I'm a public member.
Thank you. Am I missing anybody else on the committee?
Good morning. My name is Bertha Hayden.
Bertha. Sorry, Bertha.
No problem. Good morning. My name is Bertha Hayden, and I am the legal services member on the committee.
I'm Wendy Hatch, professional fiduciary in the Southern California area.
And I'm Rebecca May. I'm the Bureau Chief.
I'm Angela Quadra, the program analyst for the Bureau.
Brett Chanyu, DCA Legal.
Is that everybody? Okay. Thank you all for introducing yourselves and welcome. Item number 4. Please allow me to briefly address this agenda item. California law prohibits advisory committee members from discussing or taking action on any matters not on the agenda. However, this item offers an opportunity to the public to comment on items that are not listed on today's agenda. Please be aware that public comments during this agenda item should provide information to the advisory committee members and not meant to be discussed between advisory committees members and the public. Though this may seem like the advisory committee members or the Bureau staff are not being responsive, following these guidelines are critical to ensure the rules of Open Meeting Act are followed. Before the committee asks for public comment, I ask individuals making comments not to discuss pending complaints, pending licensing applications, or pending disciplinary actions that may come before the Bureau's legal counsel. Such discussions are considered ex parte communications by potentially providing information to the Bureau's legal counsel outside the administrative record in a case. The committee strongly asks that you also respect the privacy of others by not revealing the names, other personal information, and the conditions of any individual involved in any case or complaint. The advisory committee can receive comments regarding the Bureau's processes in general, but it cannot receive comments on a specific case. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you may request an item to be considered for future meeting agenda. However, a request does not obligate the Bureau to fulfill this request. If your comment is related to any item on the agenda, today's agenda, please wait until we get to that agenda item. Comments at this time are only for items not on the agenda. To follow the committee's significant time to conduct its schedule of the business, public comments will be limited to 2 minutes apiece. Please do not duplicate or repeat comments of a previous speaker. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments.
This is the moderator. At the direction of the committee, I have opened the Q&A feature. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, click on the Q&A icon located at the bottom corner of your WebEx screen and type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. Again, you'll have 2 minutes and I'll provide a 30-second warning. And individual identified as Richard Calhoun, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name there. You'll have 2 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I'll unmute your microphone in just a moment. You have been unmuted.
This is Richard Calhoun with Cedar, calling in to talk about your enforcement. The whole purpose of the PFB is to enforce the abuse of powers that have been going on back in 2005, uncovered by the LA Times. We have turned in every complaint. Every complaint has been unfounded. So we're going to go over some more here. I went to one website in Southern California, and the website says Party X is a bonded California licensed professional fiduciary number 1673. Every one of you should now be going, 1673? How can someone have a 1673 license number? We haven't even issued that many. You're at 1200. Same website. Party B is a California licensed bondable professional fiduciary with Company X. They're not on your website, first name or last name, and no licensee. They appear to be practicing using the buzzword professional fiduciary. Party number C. I'm proud to welcome Party D as a partner with his individual and family fiduciary work. Legal and estate planning documents must have the name of an individual. If Party E is named in those documents, I will be working on the case for you. So one party gets licensed and gets a case assigned by the courts and they pass it off to somebody else? I don't think so. Moving on, same website.
30 seconds.
First name, last name, license number. Well, the license number wasn't on the website. The first name is actually not his name on the website. So is this okay to use a nickname and not have it? In real estate, you have to use the name that's on the license so people can file it. Moving on to the last person on the same website. Vocation is a professional fiduciary with company. How are all these happening right in front of you? And then there's a person that you actually cited.
The 2 minutes were up. Line was muted.
Thank you for your comment.
No additional requests have been submitted.
Hi, this is Rebecca May, the Bureau Chief. I just wanted to respond real quickly to Mr. Calhoun's statement. We're unable to discuss specifics, as you know, about complaints or provide response to hypothetical scenarios. If you haven't already done so, I encourage you to file a complaint with the Bureau if you believe that there are violations of the Professional Fiduciaries Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you for your comments. Moving on to item 5. Rebecca, please read the Bureau's mission statement. Rebecca, we're having a hard time hearing you. Are you unmuted and ready to talk?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay,
Thank
my
you.
apologies. So it's to protect consumers through licensing, education, and enforcement of the Professional Fiduciaries Act by promoting and upholding competency and ethical standards across the profession.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there any comments from the committee members? since no committee members are commenting, to allow the committee significant time to conduct this full scheduled business, public comments for each agenda item will be limited to 2 minutes apiece. Is there any public comment on this item?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A at the request of the committee. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, the instructions are on the screen. Click on the Q&A icon and send "I would like to make a comment" to all panelists. And that's for comments for this specific agenda item. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you. And Rebecca, thank you. Moving on to item number 6. Are there any suggested edits by the committee members for the September 2nd, 2020 meeting minutes? Yes, I do have a correction, please. On item number 13, on the last sentence, I believe it should be "further the Bureau" instead of "further he." I think there needs to be a T added on.
Thank you, Wendy. I've made that.
Is there any other comments, corrections to the minutes? With that, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. This is Chief.
Is there a second to the motion?
This is Jim Moore. I second the motion.
Any discussion from the committee members? Are there any public comments?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A at the request of the committee. Members of the public, you'll have the instructions on the screen in just a moment. Click on the Q&A icon and send "I would like to make a comment" to all panelists. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you. Angela, please do a vote by roll call.
Thank you. So a vote of yes will be to approve the minutes with the one change to item number 13 on the last sentence, "further the Bureau." I will do the vote by roll call, starting with Wendy Hatch.
Yes.
James Moore.
Yes.
Chi Elder.
Yes.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Yes.
Denise Nellison.
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Yes.
Okay, with 6 votes to approve the minutes with that one change, the minutes will be posted to the website with that change.
Thank you, Angela. Item number 7. I'd like to invite the Department of Consumer Affairs executive staff to present their update.
Good morning, Vice Chair Hatch, committee members, Chief May, and members of the public. I'm Ryan Perez with the Board and Bureau Relations team at the Department of Consumer Affairs, and thank you very much for inviting me to provide an update to the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau this morning. A top priority for DCA is efficient and effective investigations. We understand how important investigation timelines are and have made this a continued priority. To that end, the executive leadership team here at DCA has decided to hire an individual who is very familiar with the investigative process work, and that individual will be working with the executive team and the team over at the department's Division of Investigation to identify ways to increase efficiency, decrease investigative timeframes, and generally improve the overall quality of the investigations. This individual will be reviewing investigations, statistics, and recommendations from the Department of Consumer Affairs' Organizational Improvement Office, in order to assist the Division of Investigation. And the overall goal here is to decrease the timeframes of the investigations while still maintaining that high quality. DCA will provide updates to the Bureau on the changes made as well as the improvements as a result of this additional review. Switching gears here, even though COVID-19 has changed the way that we do business now and in the future, our work does continue. After a temporary closure in March due to state and local stay-at-home orders to prevent the spread of COVID-19, DCA offices remain open with preventative measures in place to safeguard the health and safety of our employees and the visiting public. DCA continues to partner with the Governor's Office and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency on statewide efforts related to awareness and enforcement of public health measures. Related to that, the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and the unprecedented wildfire activities that we experienced earlier in the year are expected to last for several years. The state needs to take immediate action to reduce costs and maximize efficiencies to support all Californians. In April, DCA and all boards and bureaus worked to limit expenditures and hiring to only those necessary to support core functions and emergency response activities. Additionally, a few weeks ago, DCA learned that the department will be required to take a 5% permanent budget reduction no later than the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Each board and bureau under DCA will need to develop a plan for a permanent 5% reduction. DCA will be working with Bureau staff immediately to identify a plan that will best fit the Bureau's operational needs. And DCA would like to thank the Bureau and its staff for its continued service despite these challenges. Lastly, I would like to update you on some of the work that Board and Bureau Relations is doing to help support the Bureau's executive team along with all Board and Bureau leaders. Board and Bureau Relations has now put on 3 brown bag trainings this fall to provide executive officers and bureau chiefs the opportunity to learn and discuss best practices on topics such as appointments, managing staff remotely, and providing ADA compliant meeting materials to committee members and the public. In partnership with DCA's Solid Training Unit, board member orientation trainings have been held quarterly as remote sessions, and new trainings for board and committee chairs is in the planning stage. In closing, I look forward to the day that we can all meet in person, but in the meantime, if you have any questions or need anything from DCA, please do not hesitate to reach out to Board and Bureau Relations, and thank you again for inviting me to your meeting today. And that concludes my presentation. I will hand it over to Vice Chair Hatch.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from committee members? Hearing no comments?
This is Denise Nelson. I was just wondering if we have a timeline for this hiring for the investigative group.
Thank you for the question, Member Nelson. That individual has already been brought in, and their work is beginning now.
Any other committee comment? Any public comment?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A at the request of the committee. The instructions are on your screen. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment, click on the Q&A icon located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen and type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. Individual identified as Richard Callahan has requested to make a comment. Richard, I'll be unmuting your microphone now. You have been unmuted.
On hearings, it's nice to see the Bureau has put that link on their website under actions. But when you go there and you search for it, you can find it if you know the case name. But if you put in the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau under agency name, it comes back with no matching hearings, even though there's at least one that comes up with a name. This is a bug. It's clearly not working. So you look like you're helping the public follow up on investigations that make it to hearings, but we can't find out when those hearings are happening unless we happen to know the name to search on the individual name. So I'm pointing that out. It'd be nice to get it corrected.
Thank you. Any other comments, moderator?
This is the moderator. No further requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your presentation. Item number 8, is the budget presenter in, or is he still in the other meeting?
I don't see that he's in right now. Unfortunately, he has another meeting to attend at the same time, but I think he should be joining us shortly. So if we want to maybe skip to the next agenda item, and then we can come back to number 8 when he's available.
Thank you. Item number 9. Rebecca, could you please present the Bureau's update?
Thank you. This is Rebecca May, the Bureau Chief. The Bureau's most recent, we'll start with the application, licensing, and enforcement statistics. The Bureau's most recent statistics can be found in the meeting materials if you'd like to follow along with me. For our complaints, we have data here that represents July 1st, so the start of the fiscal year for 2020 until the end of October. During that time, we initiated no cases with the Attorney General. We issued 4 citations. We received 49 complaints. We closed 15 complaints. On October 31st, we had 114 pending complaints. And during this time, we averaged 200 days to close complaints. Moving on to licensing, again, the same time frame, July 1st, the start of the fiscal year, through October 31st, 2020, we issued 25 new licenses. And sorry to jump to the end of the far right on the table, but we also received 27 new applications during that time. As of October 31st, we had 772 active licenses. And again, as of October 31st, 2020, we had 1,191 total licenses that we have issued since our inception. So for outreach events, I have nothing to report at this time. The pandemic has definitely hindered the Bureau's outreach efforts. If you know of a socially distant outreach event that the Bureau should know about, please send me an email. And so moving on to the newsletter. The Bureau's newsletter is almost ready to distribute. It's currently with the department's publications office, who's making sure that it's ADA compliant prior to being posted on the Bureau's website. I anticipate it will go up in the coming days, and our office will send a notice to the Bureau's interested parties list when it does. So moving to the next agenda item, so Bureau performance measure goals for complaint response times. I wanted to take a moment to address concerns that were expressed at our last meeting regarding the length of time it takes for the Bureau to conduct its investigations. Under the Professional Fiduciaries Act, each complaint received is required to be investigated, and the Bureau takes that mandate seriously. As a way to measure or quantify how long our investigations take, the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Bureau have established performance measure goals. These metrics are what the Bureau strives toward. However, they do not represent a hard deadline in which the Bureau is required to close its investigations. So our performance measures are as follows. So 10 days from the receipt of a complaint to initiate a complaint in our system and to send an acknowledgement letter to the complainant. 365 days to complete an internal investigation, and 540 days to complete complaint cases that have been sent to the Attorney General. The Bureau currently meets these goals. However, keep in mind that the performance measure goals are simply an average of all investigation times. some investigations certainly go longer. Each complaint and investigation has its own unique circumstances and variables outside of the Bureau's control that influence how long they can take. Bureau staff try to conduct thorough and complete investigations prior to closing a complaint. So moving on to the legislative update, usually this is a standalone item and a representative from the department's Legislative Review Division reports to the Bureau regarding pending legislation that may be of interest to the Bureau's consumers or licensees. Given the timing of the last advisory committee meeting on September 2nd, which was soon after the end of the legislative year, there was no additional update to provide today. We will have this item back on the regular agenda for the next meeting. Thank you.
Is there any comments from the committee members? Hearing none, are there any public comments?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A feature at the request of the committee. Members of the public, the instructions will be on the screen in just a moment. Click on the Q&A icon at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen and type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. I have an individual identified as Linda Kincaid who would like to make a comment. Linda, I will unmute your microphone now. You have been unmuted.
This is Linda Kincaid with the Coalition of Elder and Disability Rights. I'd like to return to this discussion that we've been having over the past couple of years about the PFB refusing to investigate elder abuse that is perpetrated by licensees. The legislative intent in creating the PFB was to provide administrative oversight where law enforcement has failed to protect Californians from elder abuse. We know that law enforcement rarely responds to elder abuse. For example, Oakland Police Department actually issued a letter stating that they do not even accept reports of elder abuse. They're not saying they don't have time to investigate. They don't even take a report. You can't even get a report number on an elder abuse case in the city of Oakland. So if you have a licensee who is perpetrating abuse against a client in the city of Oakland, there's no recourse through law enforcement. And with the PFB refusing to provide administrative oversight of those actions, we've essentially declared open season on the elderly. And I would have to ask how that position is consistent with your mission statement. Thank you.
This is the
Thank you for your
moderator.
comment.
I apologize there, Wendy. No additional requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Hi, this is
Thank you.
Rebecca May, the Bureau Chief. I was hoping to just quickly respond to the prior comment. As I've stated previously, the Bureau does not investigate or prosecute criminal acts because it's not in our authority to do so. If a consumer believes that an individual is being neglected or abused, they should certainly contact local law enforcement. We cannot compel, and I think you made a good point about the Oakland PD, we unfortunately cannot compel further investigation on law enforcement's part or compel their prosecution of alleged criminal acts. But I hear you and I appreciate the comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, public comments. Has the budget person arrived in yet? Okay.
This is
All right.
I do not see the budgets manager logged in.
Thank you. So then we'll move on to item number 10. Rebecca, please present the status of the Bureau's proposed rulemaking.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hatch. So Bureau staff has been working in partnership with the Department of Consumer Affairs to move forward on these three regulatory proposals. The first two, one is related to establishing an inactive and retired license type. The second one is related to client notification These two are in the pre-review process, which means they have not yet been filed with the Office of Administrative Law. I promise that as soon as that changes, I will let you know. The third regulation that's listed on the agenda that is related to the implementation of AB 2138 of 2018. It's nearing the finish line. The Bureau submitted its final statement of reasons with the Office of Administrative Law in August, and as soon as it's adopted, our office will post it to PFB's website and send out a notice to the Bureau's interested parties list. And I believe that this will happen in the new year. Thank you.
Is there any comments from the committee members? Moving on, is there any public comments?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A at the request of the committee, members of the public. The instructions are on your screen. Click on the icon with the Q&A and type, I would like to make a public comment if you would like to make a comment. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for the report. Moving on to item 11. Rebecca, will you please conduct the election for chair and vice chair for the calendar year 2021?
Yes, thank you so much. So agenda item number 11 is the election of 2021 committee officers. So I'd like to open the nominations for the position of chair. Would anyone like to make a nomination for chair?
Yes, this is Wendy Hatch. I'd like to nominate Chi Elder for the position of chair.
Thank you. Are there any additional nominations? Is there any discussion by the members? Okay, so we're going to close the nominations. Angela, can you please call the roll?
Okay, so I'm going to be calling a vote by roll call, and if you are in favor of voting for the chair, you will vote yes. I will start with Wendy Hatch.
This is Fred Chanyu, DCA Legal. I would maybe recommend having public comments on this item prior to the vote taking place.
Okay.
Good idea.
Is there any public comment?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A at the request of the committee. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment, click on the Q&A icon and type, I would like to make a comment, and send it to all panelists. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Angela, can you continue with the vote, please?
Yes, again, a yes vote will be voting for Chi Elder to be the committee chair for the year 2021. Wendy Hatch?
Yes.
James Moore?
Yes.
Chi Elder?
Yes.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden?
Yes.
Denise Nellison?
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa?
Yes.
Okay. All 6 members that are present are in favor, and there are none opposed. So that motion will carry by a majority vote for the 2021 year chair will be Chi Elder.
Congratulations. Rebecca, did you want to go for?
Yes, let's move on to the nominations for the position of vice chair. Would anyone like to make a nomination for vice chair?
This is Wendy Hatch. I would like to nominate Bertha Sanchez Hayden for the position of Vice Chair for 2021.
Are there any other nominations? Is there any discussion by the advisory committee? And Ms. Hatch, would you like to open it up for public comment?
Yes, please.
At the request of the committee, members of the public, the instructions will be on the screen. If you would like to make a comment, click on the Q&A icon, type "I would like to make a comment" and send it to all panelists. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
It sounds like the nominations are closed. Angela, can you please call the roll for Vice Chair?
Yes, so the a vote in favor of electing, a yes vote will be a vote in favor of electing Bertha Sanchez Hayden as the Vice Chair for the year of 2021 for the PFB Professional Fiduciaries Advisory Committee. So I will start with Wendy Hatch.
Yes.
James Moore.
Yes.
Chi Elder.
Yes.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Yes.
Denise Nellison.
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Yes.
Okay, with a 6 members which are present voting yes and none opposed, the motion will carry for Bertha Sanchez Hayden will be our 2021 Vice Chair for the committee. Thank you.
Congratulations. Item number 12.
Actually, I'm sorry. This is Rebecca May. I just wanted to pipe in and also congratulate our new chair and vice chair. I also wanted to take a moment to thank our now outgoing vice chair, Wendy Hatch, for stepping in to run our meetings in the absence of a chair this year. Thank you so, so much, Wendy.
You're welcome. Okay, item number 12. Angela, what items have you recorded from our meeting today for consideration to be included in the future agendas?
Thank you, Wendy. I have not recorded any items that were requested for future agenda items. Is there anything that I might have missed, or?
Are there any items from the committee members that would like to add? Is there any public comments?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A at the request of the committee. Members of the public, the instructions are on the screen. Click on the Q&A icon, type "I would like to make a comment" and send it to all panelists if you would like to participate. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Item number 14, the following meeting dates have been selected and scheduled for 2021. They're on your screen as March 10th, June 16th, September 15th, and December 8th. If any of you have a conflict to the proposed dates, please contact Angela directly. Is there any comments from committee members? Are there any public comments?
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A at the request of the committee. Members of the public, the instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on the Q&A icon and type "I would like to make a comment" and send it to all panelists. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your report. I'd like to circle back around to number 8 regarding the budget report. Do we have a report on that yet? Or has the person entered?
Hi, this is Rebecca May, the Bureau Chief. I understand that Paul McDermott is logging on right now, so we might need to pause for a minute or two so that he can get.
I am back on. Can you hear me?
Well, welcome. Item number 8, I would like to invite the Department of Consumer Affairs Budget Officer to present the budget and updates.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul McDermott. I am the budget analyst from the Department of Consumer Affairs for the Fiduciaries Bureau. Just give me a second. I'm pulling the documents right back up. I had to reload everything here real quick. But before, as I'm bringing these up, I just want to let everybody know that as we go through the budget, each time I present, I'm happy to say that not much has changed from meeting to meeting. The budget is solid, and as the spending and the savings are right on par for everything that the board is doing. I have one more to bring up, and I'll be ready. I apologize. Here it is. Okay. So do we have the documents on the screen? All I see is the agenda. There we go. Okay. So in front of us, what we see is the fiduciary fund condition. What the fund condition is it shows two things. The top of this, we show the revenue streams of the money coming in. We have 3 or 4 or 5 of these revenue streams. And then down the bottom, we have what the expenditures are. So I always say this is the money coming in and the money going out. In the bottom, we always want to be a positive. In this case, we are positive. So we're bringing in roughly about, from last year's budget, any reversions coming forward, plus anything that we've collected this year. We've collected $606,000 here. We look at the expenditures of $595,000. We take in all the other expenditures associated with the board, and we have a fund balance left over of $264,000. That's important because if, as I said in the previous meetings, if anything such as COVID falls apart, we do have money in our fund balance to be able to support the operations of the board. Months in reserve is key here because we always talk about a positive fund months in reserve is going to be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So we're right at 5 right now, and in the next couple of years, we're at 5, 5.5, and 6. So we're in good shape as we look at this, and we're doing just fine here. So the fund condition is balanced, and we're good to go there. As we go down to the next document, if we can bring that up. Next document is the expenditures. So what's important about the expenditures on my end is I have to look at what the board is spending now and be able to project it out for a 12-month period. And I did it off of, we only have 3 months of data that's in. I would love to have had 4, but unfortunately we're dealing with 3. And then I compared the expenditures to the last couple of years to make sure that we're right on line on what I would expect the board to do. Unfortunately, with the size of the board and the discipline with which money is spent, Fiduciaries is still very strong in how they do things. And I'm pleased to say we're still looking at this fiscal year to have a reversion of about $21,000. So we have about $8,900 in operating expenses, and we've got about $12,000 in personal expenses for a total of about $21,000. So we're looking pretty solid right now. And that's about what we've done for the last 3 or 4 years. I've been the analyst here now going on my 3rd year, and we're within $18,000 to $22,000 to $23,000 of savings. So we're doing fine. So I would like to say that with Rebecca May's leadership, we're doing just fine. The fund condition is still solid. The spending is right on par, and there's nothing to tell me or explain to me if there's anything out of the ordinary. And if with that said, are there any questions?
Mr. McDermott,
Oh, go ahead.
this is Wendy Hatch. Since we have two new members to the advisory committee, could you possibly, going back to the first report, explain the other regulatory fees and the other regulatory licenses and permits revenue? What consists of those two categories?
I'd have to pull up another document to see how. Let me pull up I can tell you if I pull up the workload revenue, because they're all lumped into one. Let me grab it real quick and I'll let you know. Yeah, 419-9400. Okay, so the category where we're looking at other regulatory licenses and permits, that'll be the item number 412-9400. There are three streams of revenue in there. It's going to be the application, the initial license fee, and any prior year revenue adjustments. In the category of renewal fees, that's the brunt of everything. That's the 412-7400. That's just plain and simple renewal fees of any application. And other regulatory fees, which is 412-9200. That's going to consist of duplicate licenses or certification and any administrative cites and fines.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee members?
This is Denise Nelson. I just had a question about, are the numbers of new licensees stay about the same from year to year?
Looking at what I have on the workload revenue, from 1920 it was about 1,100. 2021 we're projecting about 1,200, and then 21-22 we're projecting about 1,300. So pretty steady. Now, with that said, I don't know how COVID has affected any of the licenses. I only get the report at the end of the year, but it looks like it's been steady over the years. Roughly about 1,100, about 1,300.
I was hoping that maybe as a committee we could consider some ways that we can increase people becoming licensed, educational methods, or try to figure out ways we can increase that. And then hopefully if our budget increases in that way, maybe we can hire even one more investigator or something. So just throwing it out there.
Thank you, Denise. Is there any other committee comments? Are there any public comments?
This is the moderator. I'm opening up the Q&A. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, click on the Q&A icon located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen and type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. McDermott, for your report and fitting us in and catching you off guard like that. So,
that's all right.
With that, and with that, I move to adjourn this meeting at 10:55 a.m. on December 2nd, 2020.